Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now January 10th of 2025, and given that the entire media and all of Hollywood is still doubling down on their agenda, we have seen, yes, a slow turn of the tide by some of the Hollywood studios, some of the major ones within the Hollywood bubble, but for the most part, it's going to be a very long and lengthy process until the majority of these studios fully drop anything to do with DEI or anything to do with their ideology that they have been shoehorning into television and film or music, whatever it may be. And one thing about Meghan Markle is that we know that she's caught up in quite a big mess right now with Netflix, with of course the entire concept of Hollywood, and how she's just outright rejected by the general public after that With Love Meghan trailer dropped by Netflix just a couple of days ago. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, we know that Meghan Markle is by far one of the most insufferable celebrities within the Hollywood scope, right? We know that she is getting rejected outright by the majority of the public for how she is now still moving forward with Netflix. Now, granted, her Netflix contract deal is kind of on the rocks. It's really shaky right now, and it really all depends on the performance of the show. Now, what's interesting about this is that we know that Netflix is really also engaged in quite a big division between its CEO, Greg Peters, along with the board of directors. However, there is bad news going on right now for Meghan Markle, and it's only worsening over time, and this could very well be the final nail in the coffin when it comes to her significance in the public eye, or her status, if you will, on television. Let's jump into this, shall we? Now, with both the woke media and Hollywood now in financial flames, and they are, one major example now involves Netflix and the ongoing issues with Meghan Markle over at that studio. However, one crucial update to this scenario and how many studios are now beginning to drop and blacklist Meghan Markle essentially involves her recent situation over at HBO, where for several months now, between both Meghan and the HBO studio executives, they were on top of a project that was going to focus on Meghan Markle's workout routine that would be done in the form of a series in a near similar format to Curb Your Enthusiasm, much like Netflix did with their show, With Love Meghan, modeled after that mockumentary style, that genre, if you will. Now, Meghan Markle's workout series that was going to be dubbed Motivated by Meghan via HBO Max is now officially no longer moving forward after the HBO executives and its CEO decided to end their deal abruptly after hearing and learning about all the internal chaos happening over at Netflix. Now, this comes after the fact that Meghan Markle got the marketing team fired that handled her With Love Meghan trailer over at Netflix. The HBO executives witnessed that toxic behavior through their contracts, and of course through their connections and contacts, I should say, with Netflix, and decided to cancel Meghan Markle altogether, refusing to never work with her at all in the future again. Now, the Motivated by Meghan series by HBO was also canceled due to Meghan Markle's demands and how she was demanding a higher payout for her new show that was going to star some A-list celebrities that are also known to have a workout regimen. However, some celebrities that Meghan Markle was insisting and demanding to include, HBO and its execs heavily disagreed with her on including some of those celebrities, which are currently unknown at this time. Reportedly, Meghan wanted around $40 million for this new Motivated by Meghan series on HBO that was going to be 3 seasons if the first one picked up well. HBO agreed with that margin in the early stages, but she wanted it bumped up to $60 million. This $40 million deal at HBO was best described as a Hail Mary move by Meghan Markle and served as a backup plan, a contingency plan, if Netflix decided to cancel her contract in 2025 without a renewal, which, by the way, is very likely at this point, given that With Love Meghan is likely to underperform on a vast level that we have never seen before by Netflix. Now, what's interesting here, and I will say this, guys, before I move on, one thing about HBO is that they seem like they are the one studio that is slowly, and I say slowly, beginning to learn that things like, for example, Meghan Markle working out and having a show about her workout regimen is not going to be a selling point by HBO. It's not going to have a lot of, interest by the general public. Nobody likes Meghan Markle, especially Meghan Markle that tries to do something so inauthentic and something that's so fake by design. Much like how everyone sees the With Love Meghan trailer, this motivated by Meghan quote-unquote project by HBO for HBO Max, for sure, I believe if it did debut on that platform, if this deal moved forward and it was produced, they wanted to get this thing out, by the way, by the summer of 2026, it would have failed miserably. There's no doubt about that in anybody's mind. And I think that's also why HBO decided to say, hey, you know what? We're not making a deal. We're not having you on board in any of our projects in the future. You basically are, blacklisted from the studio. And that's basically their overall behavior toward Meghan Markle. And you know what? Good on them. I think that was a right move on their part. I think that we have to have more studios beginning to wake up, that they have to focus on what sells and what's in the demand by their customers. So that's the one wrong by Netflix, is that they're making a lot of bad decisions lately and they just keep doubling down. Now, fortunately, CEO Greg Peters over at Netflix has, a pretty good head on his shoulders. He's trying to battle the, board of directors, trying to set the record straight with his side of the story. But what's interesting about this is that Meghan acted in a very aggressive way toward the HBO executives after they canceled her show outright and blacklisted her from the studio, where no pitches or concepts will even be allowed to be proposed by Meghan Markle and her team at all. The series was also going to focus on DEI, which both Meghan and HBO agreed on, shockingly. However, it turns out the cancellation of the show and her getting banned from HBO essentially was the root of all of this, was that from her behavior over at Netflix behind the scenes and her creative differences and financial differences for this motivated by Meghan project for HBO that went south. The series was going to also focus on Meghan Markle's tips for reducing weight and more in a desperate move in order to relate with the general public seeking to work out in the gym. Meghan already blamed HBO for acting very unprofessional and that they were biased, quote unquote, for canceling her HBO show and contract deal of $40 million. Now, look, compare that to the $100 million deal that she got with Netflix, which, by the way, very likely could be ending this month. We'll have a lot more to talk about that. We will be on top of that the minute that drops on that decision. But $40 million, the fact that she wanted that bumped up to $60 million over at HBO, and that really also created a lot of problems, right? So it's not just creative differences that were sparked by Meghan, but also financial differences that were created by her that really created that problem over at HBO for HBO Max. So this motivated by Meghan show, who in the world would want to watch that is beyond me. I could only imagine it being worse than the With Love Meghan series by Netflix. And the fact that Netflix has a season 2 greenlit already as a backup plan in case they do renew her contract, I think is ludicrous to begin with. They already have a whole script written, they have the whole concept written for it, but we'll talk more about that later on. Overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.